Production delays with the Ford Bronco are finally almost over. It's about to start production. We're going to talk about that. And also, the first brand new pickup truck in decades is being built in America in Illinois, and it is going to change everything. It's going to change everything in the industry. I know there's a lot of people out there who don't really like electric vehicles. They don't believe in electric vehicles. They think they're wasteful and so forth. But the reality is, electric vehicles are coming. There's a huge shift in the industry. Ford invested $26 billion. They just announced that. Maybe it was 29. I forget the exact number. And this company, Rivian, has been around since 2009. And they have purchased the old Mitsubishi plant. They purchased it in 2017. And they have converted it over to actually 2 production lines. We're going to talk about that in a second. And they're going to be building a number of different vehicles there, but they're actually already building vehicles. And one of them is the Amazon Prime delivery vehicle. But let's talk about this cold weather testing for just a second, because I think this is actually really important. Traditional ICE vehicles, internal combustion vehicles, don't do that well in cold temperatures. Often you need a block heater if you're dealing with temperatures that are like minus 40, which is what they're talking about in this video here. They're testing these temperatures at minus 40 Fahrenheit, which is the same Celsius. Batteries don't like to operate that well in the cold. You need to sort of heat them up a little bit to get best efficiency, especially for durability and longevity of these batteries. So they've been taking these vehicles out and they've been cold soaking them overnight and then seeing how they perform.
Do another cold soak tonight and test charging again in the morning at even colder temperatures.
So to keep these batteries warm, some manufacturers use a separate electrical circuit to heat up the batteries, but Rivian is taking a slightly different approach. So this is from a website which is called Teslarati. They focus on EVs, and this is an interview with Laura, who is a control integrations engineer, and she says, in extremely cold conditions, we use some battery energy to keep the cells in our battery above 14 Fahrenheit to provide controlled vehicle performance. Now, some EVs have electrical heaters to heat the battery up, which is another component, more cost, more mass, and a drain electrical supply. Instead, we're using our inverter and motor to generate heat even while stationary. Our traction system can generate substantial heat for the battery. So the way I understand it is there is a cooling circuit that is used to cool the battery, and that same circuitry can be used to move warm coolant over the battery too. So you engage the motor even if it's not running, you can generate heat through current and heat up the battery. If you've been unfortunate enough to drive in extremely cold weather and perhaps driven on an icy road or a lake or a road that has just been snowed on, you know that can be very difficult to get traction because ice doesn't have much friction. So when you apply torque, when you hit the gas, the traction control often kicks in and to stop the wheels from spinning. Now, the advantage in an electric vehicle is that you've got instant torque right at the wheels. You've got the motor typically right at the wheels, and you can vary that amount of torque much more precisely than you can with a gas-powered vehicle.
My mum or dad can get into and drive and feel very confident and safe when they're in the snow or ice conditions. Making sure that our algos detect that we're driving on snow and adjust how much torque is driven into each wheel. And it affects the balance between a lateral support or handling and then acceleration.
That's the good thing about the electric motors, is that very, very responsive. Instantly give torque, but also take it away.
You having fun?
Amazon is a $700 billion investment into Rivian, and Ford actually invested $500 billion as too. They are going to produce, they've got an order to produce 100,000 vehicles that are going to be delivered to Amazon. But for this year, for 2021, they're going to be rolling these out in 16 different cities. Their goal is to produce 10,000 delivery vehicles for Amazon. And they're going to be shifting production over to this new plant at Normal, Illinois. So right now, these vehicles are being delivered, or rather being built in Plymouth, Michigan, and they can go up to 150 miles in a single charge. Now that's pretty significant because Amazon has actually tested electric vehicles before in their fleet, and they found that they weren't able to go a full duty cycle, a full day. This is a really good article on Motor Trend. You should definitely go check it out when you have some time, but they talk about what Rivian is doing, the direction that they're going, and how they're scaling up right now to start delivering these vehicles to the public. So they're going to be delivering the first vehicle, which is the electric pickup truck, the R1T. They're going to be delivering these to customers starting just this year in June. So we're talking about, what, 4, maybe 5 months away if you get to the end of June. This is something you can go on their website and order right now. In fact, apparently all of the pre-orders are already sold out. So just a quick look at what this thing is. I've already configured it in a separate video, but this truck, the R1T, starts at, let's see, $67,500, and it has 300 miles of range, which is pretty good. I don't know what the Tesla Cybertruck is planned to have, but if you get the additional package on here, the large pack, for $10,000, you're up to $77,000, and it can go 400 miles. So this is essentially an $80,000 truck. Not really out of line with the most expensive trucks that you can get. Obviously, if you look at something like the TRX, you're up at, you know, maybe $100,000 for the best version of that. The F-150 can get very, very expensive too. So currently Rivian employs about 3,600 employees. They say they are adding 100 per day. By my very rough calculations, that should put Rivian at around 8,000 employees by the end of the year. Pretty significant. They're, you know, obviously much smaller than Tesla, which has around 71,000, 75,000 employees globally, so not quite that big, but they're really gearing up, and they're actually planning to go public this year too. So compared with some of the other EV announcements that you've been hearing, I think Rivian is positioned to really take the lead and become a serious competitor to Tesla. And they're not even competing so much directly with Tesla, because they are focusing on the R1T, which is a pickup truck. They've got the R1S, which is going to launch in August. That is an SUV, also built on the same platform. And then they've got these Amazon vehicles. And then they're going to be followed apparently by something called the R2 and the R3, which are going to be much less expensive vehicles. And these are going to be consumer level vehicles as well. So if the R1T is priced at $67,000 to start, I'm hoping that the R2 and the R3 are going to be coming in at maybe $50,000 or less, something along that pricing. Apparently there's going to be a whole slew of other vehicles to follow, so we're going to have to see what they produce with that. But this is pretty big news, and they've been flying under the radar for quite a while. But this is exciting because this is an American manufacturer that is going to be delivered products produced by American workers, and obviously they're selling into the American marketplace, and they're delivering trucks for Amazon already. These guys are up and running. They are an actual competitor to companies like Ford and General Motors and VW. These guys are a competitor, and if you're looking at a Bronco, which who isn't, if that's probably why you're watching this video, this is maybe what the future is starting to look like a couple years down the line. They're producing these two vehicles, the R1T and the R1S, on this skateboard design. I've seen it actually. It's quite impressive. It is this big flat battery pack. It keeps the center of mass very, very low, and they're able to put different vehicles on top of it, and it's this sort of modular type system. So they've got essentially two production lines going on at this plant. One of them is just for the consumer vehicles. I just talked about this aluminum skateboard for the Prime van that they're going to be building there. They've got the skateboard also, but it's going to be steel rather than aluminum. Next up, we're going to talk about what's going on with the Bronco and the delays, and hopefully they're going to be over soon. Ford, General Motors, all kinds of companies have been affected by delays, which are chip delays. So during the pandemic, a lot of the Chinese manufacturers which produce chips shifted over to consumer goods, TVs and so forth, and they produced a lot of chips for those. And according to Automotive News, this has had a massive impact on the automotive industry globally. They are saying that an additional 10,000 vehicles are going to be not produced. This is above the report that they produced just a couple days ago. So they're saying the total number of vehicles that they project to not be produced is 780,000. This is up from 705,000. And this is mainly affecting North America. As you can see, 267,000 vehicles not produced due to this chip shortage. It's also affected Europe very heavily too. Projected in North America is 428,000 vehicles not produced. So that is probably part of the reason behind the production delays with the Bronco. There's obviously other stuff related to the pandemic too, but let's take a look at Bronco 6G. So this is from a poster called Ross. He says he was a freelance journalist. He says he has contacts at Ford, and I haven't been able to independently verify this, but it doesn't sound like it's too far out of reality. He says that after earning its last required federal certification at the end of last week, every Bronco 2 and 4-door built starting this week at MAP, that's the Michigan assembly plant, are legally sellable to the public. From this past Monday through the next couple of weeks, MAP is in a pre-production phase, running final form Broncos in the second shift only. I don't know why that is. He says, I don't have clarification if these will be press demo units or dealer units or whatever, but possibly both. So we're moving towards production, and the date for phase 1 mass production is Monday, March 29th. So that is 28 days from now, if my math is correct. And so at that point, hopefully we're going to get into the full production of the Bronco with all of the shifts running. You've already placed your order for the Bronco. You've got, according to Torque News, until March 29th to convert that order into a final order and I guess finalize it. And then starting in May, Ford is going to mail you and tell you when your production is going to start. So the people that ordered the Bronco at some point later last year are probably going to be the first ones to get delivery, and it looks like we're probably going to be talking about this summer, maybe late spring for a couple of lucky people, but realistically we're going to be talking about summer. Production doesn't really start until March 29th, let's call it April 1st, and they start ramping up. It's going to take a little while to get those vehicles into dealer lots. If you ordered late, you're probably looking at 2022 for your Bronco. I just saw the first Bronco Sport driving around the streets of LA a couple days ago. I thought it looked really good, actually. It's in black. I've got a Bronco Sport coming, a press vehicle in the next couple of weeks. I've also got the Mustang Mach-E. My name is Eric. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.